Hey, greetings and salutations to you, people of the interweb. So today we're going to be looking at these. These are Hasbro's Dungeons and Dragons Dicelings. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So, if you know about me, I like my transforming toys. And I like Dungeons and Dragons. So what better thing when we have than transforming Dungeons and Dragons toys? Some of these tie in with the movie, so let's just get cracking. We'll get cracking with this guy. This is Rakor. He's a black dragon. As you can see, just a picture of the dice on the front. There's some character art. There's some product shots on the back. It says plastic free packaging except tape and glue. In various languages. It's 8 steps to convert. It's got a similar logo that they use on the Transformers packaging. It's got the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves on the doodad. So this is where I realise I've set up shop and to record and not got my scissors handy, but I have, so here we go. So let's see, how do we get into these? There's a QR code there to play D&D, so I'm not sure where that'll go. Maybe to D&D Beyond, now that Wizards of the Coast own it and Hasbro own Wizards of the Coast. So let's take a look. So that's open, bit of cardboard, and here we go. Here's the Diceling itself. Oh, there's more tissue involved. It feels quite hefty actually for what is a ball of plastic and cardboard. So we eventually get to the warnings plus instructions, which we're not going to use, but again they look very comparable to, if not, looks like they've probably got the same team that does Transformers to design those instructions, because they look very comparable. Sometimes when you get different Hasbro products, because there's different Hasbro teams that are working on things, you can kind of tell that even though it might be a converting thing, that we're just going to separate these out to it's a different team that's working on them, but it looks like it's the same team as the Transformers team who've worked at least on the instructions, if not the actual transformation of the figure. So maybe this was a bad one to start on, because you can't really take much of the detail because it's, you know, black plastic. There is the D&D ampersand and sign on there in green. Looks a bit off center to the triangle. That'd be it compared to a regular D20, much bigger. Probably wouldn't recommend using this as actual something that got a free got a edge a 1, maybe, yeah, a 1. So I probably wouldn't recommend using this in play, but there you go. But it's a novelty toy, isn't it? So what I can gather is these will come out like so. We'll spread these, and then we'll go in here like so, like so. Unfurl. So look, is there anything I can do with his horns? I'm not sure. And pull these out. I think we'll swivel the tail like so. And here is it Rakor? Rakor the Black Dragon. So I like the metallic grey that's under the wings. You do get a bit of swivel on these wings. You can do the flapping by the nature of them, because they are just like the shell of the dice. You can see like various mouldings where the wings are supposed to be torn, because it's like this, you know, rotten black dragon. The head is on a ball joint. It does have an opening mouth. I was just see if the horns are on a swivel, but they're not. They're made out of a soft plastic. They're getting in the way of the horns. And there's a swivel at the neck as well. There's a little bit of a ball joint, but doesn't give you too much motion. At the shoulder, there's an elbow move, and there's a ball joint at the front paw, or hand, whatever you want to call it. Again, it's more of a swivel here on the back leg. Bend here, bend at the knee as well, and a ball joint at the foot. So it's like chicken legged. I'm not entirely sure which way you're supposed to bend them, but bend them you can. And then on the tail, there's a swivel at the tail here, bend, ball joint, and a swivel at the thing. So it's pretty cool. It's a nice little novelty. And it is just a novelty. It's not, I don't think there's anything, you know, you're not going to roll this dice in play. You're not really going to use this as a miniature in your games, but you could put that on a base, and I think, you know, it could represent your Black Dragon, your Rakor. Size-wise, well, the usual size companions. Got is him next to a deluxe class Transformer, so it's quite a small figure, but quite long. You know, even with that, they do feel comparable in weight, really. With your 6-inch scale, with your Marvel Legends, with the hood, Sans hood, but with the Autobot Matrix of Leadership. Oh, it's a very small dragon compared to a 6-inch figure. And with Cobra's favourite accountant, Raptor. Again. And your favourite barista, Lord of the Vape Shop, it's Fisto. I just imagine there's in the Masters Universe, fighting dragons would be quite handy. And there he is with like your kind of average miniature type of thing, the Drow Warrior. So that could be like a medium dragon sized. And yeah, that's Rakor. Moving on, who should we go through next? Let's go for Alba. Alba, again, Honor Amongst Thieves, scissors, packaging, so there's not much of a write-up on what an Alba is or anything like that. It's just here we go, knock yourselves out. Here's a Diceling. I am looking forward to the Dungeons and Dragons movie. We've only seen that one trailer so far, but I'm quietly optimistic that they want to do the right thing again. Protected in some tissue paper, a bit of cardboard, instructions and warnings and whatnot. Again, we've put tissue in here to protect it, I guess. We don't want to get this out to look at the dice, but we don't want to reveal too much of the character that's in the side. Let's make sure all that's not quite pegging together as well as the other one, but again, it's in this grey plastic, so you can't really make out the numbers as well. But they do have the Amazon in gold, and it looks a bit more central than the last one. There's all these kind of runes as well along the side of each of the triangles that make up the D20, and who knows what they mean. Maybe other people can figure that out. Maybe it would have been nice if they would have painted every number, but there we go. So that's, I don't know what more I can say about the D20. It's kind of like the Rock Lords of gimmicks, really, isn't it? Here's a thing that's just a standard shape, and then we're going to we'll just start opening it up like so. The theater ball joints, which we have already popped off slightly. Let's see. It feels this one's a little bit more involved in its conversion than the dragon. Yeah. See, so we're doing a whole kind of blitz of flipping around to make sense. So let's see. As we look at the, let's have a look at the product shots here. Right, so I think Yeah, I've got this weird Alba kind of wrist. There's a wrist swivel here. I think you get these kind of weird Alba arms. So this one's a little bit weirder than the dragon. I think it's kind of, yeah, the arms kind of look a bit wow, fractal. But it's a fun gimmick, you know. It's a fun little thing. You can't be going like, oh my god, how dare they do the Alba so dirty. So I think, you know, your dragon, you've got all these like dragony shapes, and you've managed to get rid of the shell into these wings and actually concentrate on making like a dragon form. Whereas your Alba, you're having to incorporate a lot more of the shell into the shapes and form, especially of the arms here, to make them very weird. But also, yeah, that's part of the, you know, we're not getting this to make accurate D&D creatures. We're here for the gimmick of it being a dice that turns into something that resembles a D&D creature. So I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. But we are going to move on to the Beholder. Now, what makes it different to the other ones is all the other ones have the Honor Amongst Thieves tagline on there. So it means it connects them to the movie. Whereas the Beholder doesn't. So I guess that means that there's no Beholder in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. So that's kind of or if there is, it is not this Beholder. You know, that's kind of a little hint of things to come. Because otherwise I'd expect, like the dragons that have names, I'd expect if it was a character in the movie, the Beholder would also have a name, because, you know, these aberrant creatures, and they do have personalities, and they do have kind of things going on with them, so I would have expected, you know, it to be a Xanathar or something like that if it was in the movie. But again, cool Dungeons and Dragons artwork and instructions, warnings, dice in the tissue bag. This time we've got this glorious orange. I suppose it's more of a muted orange. I would have kind of liked the dice to be just a little bit more garish in colour. It's hard work getting the tissue off this guy without actually revealing everything. I can see everything here just from removing this tissue, but here we go. Let's try and peg all this back together just so we can look at the dice before we get fully involved in the Beholder. So again, this guy's got more of a purple ambersand pointed out. What I do like, there's the occasional, like on the 20 and the 19, it's got that very kind of scaly thing going on, and the rest of it looks pretty much similar to the rest of the dice. It's a bit scuffed up here on the 15, where there's at least, that's becoming at least 3 different flaps. So we've already seen while we're taking the paper out. So we know that we need to open this up here, open this up here. Let's see. See? So I think this is our beholder. So we've got this. Does this do anything? No, I think that stays in place here. So that's where you'd rest it on. So we've got these various flaps that become eye stalks. Then you've got some eye stalks at the back. You've got the head and the jaw. Does open to some extent. Those lovely teeth, and this garish black that it's painted on the inside of the mouth, giving it a lot of character, especially within the triangular iris as well. Really kind of gives this guy a lot of character, but essentially this is a very goofy toy of a dice that turns into a beholder. I love it. I love it. So you've got all these little ball joints as well on these eye stalks, so you can try and move them around, but they are just going to clash into each other. But yeah, that's our Diceling beholder. So last but no means least is the Red Dragon. This is Themberchaud. Now Themberchaud is, we've seen him in the trailers, is a chunky red dragon. I'm currently, for our guys, running Out of the Abyss, which is a campaign set in the Underdark, and Themberchaud is one of the NPCs in that. I'm very kind of fond of Themberchaud, and I just fear that he's going to get owned in the movie. Like, no, please don't kill. Please save Themberchaud. Don't kill Themberchaud. So same again. Wrapped up. Cardboard everywhere. Instructions. It essentially, by the looks of the product thing, is pretty much a mold mate with some just little changes to Rakor. So open that up. Again, I just wish the red would just be a little bit brighter, you know. But we've got nice red plastic. Open that up. Get that out. With the gold ampersand again, looks a little bit off center because of where it is, and it's just a big old D&D red dice that's going to turn into a red dragon. Like so. We open these shell halves, spread out the wings, uncurl the tail, pull out the head. Oh, rip off his arm, turn these around. And then we have Themberchaud, the red dragon, in his dragon mode. So yeah, if we look, I didn't even notice that on there first time around. Yeah, so the design is the same, but I don't know if you can make it out, but you could tell that of how the scales are, that the sculpting is different for both of them. And he's got a very flat kind of thing inside his wings. They're not like the kind of, they're not got like the acid pock marks that Rakor has. The head sculpt is also very different. I didn't notice they do both have waist swivels. I didn't notice that on Rakor, but just on the red plastic, it's a little bit more noticeable. There's a waist swivel. It's got a ball joint at the head and a opening mouth, and that is a fucking, that's an amazing dragon head sculpt. I love it. It's great. Again, yeah, just everything is just, it's the same design. It's all a little bit different because they just do have just little slightly different variations in tail designs and stuff like that. So it's kind of like they've probably designed them digitally and then molded them separately, because they are, yeah, it's the same conversion or transformation scheme, but all the kind of surface detail, like all, there doesn't seem to be any shared parts. I'd say maybe the hands and feet could be. And like maybe the lower legs. No, not even the lower legs, but maybe the hands and feet are the same for convenience sake, but everything else is looking a bit different. But so he doesn't, as a red dragon, yeah, he's successful, but I don't think it conveys the kind of chunkiness of Themberchaud, because he is essentially the same width and size as the Black Dragon, whereas, you know, he should be a wide boy, should Themberchaud. But no, still, nonetheless, he's just a cool little dragon toy that also turns into a D20 that you can't really use in a game. But as novelties, these are a pretty cool set. I don't know if they're going to do any more. I don't know if I'd buy any more. You know, I don't know what. Iconic Dungeons and Dragons monsters you would, well, else want as D20s. I mean, you tell me. I mean, what would you like to see as a D20 figure? Maybe they could move on to different dice and do different creatures as different dice. I don't know if you could get, there was anything smaller. Maybe little people that are just a couple of, like a quick folding half D6 that's just a person. I don't know. You know, just a little scale with these. But obviously, you know, you can't make things too small. But I suppose if you look at Transformers, you can. You can have little even smaller than these. So, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons Dicelings. I think if you've got this far through the video, you know if you want these or not, really. And I'm glad they exist. I'm glad I bought them. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. I think they're just going to hang around on the table as little fiddle things for people, and, you know, the people who come around to play Dungeons and Dragons can just have a play with rather than chatting shit, really. So that's them, Dicelings by Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, Honor Among Thieves, Dungeons and Dragons movie, words. That's Word-O-Rang. As always, be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. Because you deserve it, let's bump fists, shall we? Bisto! Fisto!